Hello, everyone. Welcome to this knowledge series that we at iChars have crafted especially for coaches and psychologists. Let me start by introducing what we do at iChars. iChars is an organization that focuses on helping psychologists and coaches develop advanced practitioner skills with the help of comprehensive step by step training and ongoing support. We are currently celebrating our 10th anniversary. As a part of the celebrations, we are organizing this knowledge series. In today's episode, we will look at what is NLP and how can it help coaches and therapists get better results with clients. We have with us our CEO Nitin Shah, who will be addressing the various questions about NLP. As we go ahead with this discussion, if you have any questions, do feel free to ask us in the comments and I will be happy to ask them on your behalf. Nitin sir, should we take up the questions?
Yes, we can. But before we go ahead and before you ask the questions, I want to remind everyone that we have a contest going on right now. If you haven't yet participated in it, please go ahead and participate in that contest because you have a chance to win a, a coaching diploma worth 54,000 plus, and you actually get to attend that coaching diploma completely for free. So if you have not yet participated, if you have not yet joined, please go ahead and participate in that contest. And if you feel that you're a bit late, don't worry. There are people that we will be selecting through random draw. So even if you join the contest now, that should be good enough for you to get a chance to win the course.
Okay,
Yeah, we
perfect.
can start
So,
now.
okay. So, sir, the first question is what is NLP?
Okay. So NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. Um, what is it really? It basically it's a way of understanding how our neurology, that is how the brain and the language connect with each other based on certain associations and programs that are built in the brain. What I mean by this, uh, you know how there are things that you see, and the moment you see them, because of certain past associations that you have, you either feel happy or so. Whatever it is that you've seen, that's the language. It can be a visual language, but it's a language that's connected to that particular feeling that I'm experiencing. And this program that's running, that's creating these two associations, is the programming. So neuro, what's happening in our brain as a result of what language we are exposed to, and the programming that's connecting this neurology with the language. That will be neuro linguistic programming.
Okay,
Now, this is a more technical language. A simple way of understanding this is neuro linguistic programming is a model of human behaviors. It basically helps us understand how human beings behave the way they behave and why they behave that way.
okay,
Okay.
right. Okay. So, NLP as a field, when exactly and how did it develop?
So, NLP was developed as a result of the work initially being done by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. These were two people who got together who started observing the work of other successful people, right? And that's the basis of NLP. It's modeling successful strategies and then converting it into a process that can be followed by other people who want to achieve the same results. So initially, they modeled three very prominent figures in the area of mind sciences and therapy. They modeled Fritz Perls, who is the founder of Gestalt therapy, Virginia Satir, a very, very popular and effective family therapist, and Milton Erickson, considered as one of the best hypnotists ever. And based on the work of these three people, they initially started understanding how successful therapists use questioning tools and language to help people understand what's happening in their life and to help them create a change in the way they want to create a change. Later on, over a period of time, Bandler and Grinder started observing other successful people to incorporate other models into the NLP framework. They obviously also included and incorporated a lot of other people who helped them, supported them in the initial days of the development of NLP. But the two figures that are the most prominent figure, and to keep that discussion about history short for this particular session, you can just think of them as Richard Bandler and John Grinder.
Okay.
Okay? And just before we go ahead, and this is important, that the essence of NLP is modeling successful strategies, understanding what other successful people are doing, converting what they are doing into a process that can then be followed by us in a structured manner to get the same results that they were getting.
Okay. Okay. So, sir, is NLP a form of therapy by itself?
So NLP has a lot of tools and techniques that can be used by therapists, because obviously in the initial days it was modeled heavily based on the work that was done by therapists. But NLP is far more than that. It can be applied in any area of your life. You can use the NLP principles to achieve success in any area of life that you want to achieve success in. You may want to apply those principles in relationship and make your relationships better. You may want to apply it in other careers. For example, you may want to become a more successful journalist, a more successful entrepreneur. You may want to improve your performance in the job that you're doing. So while a major component of NLP does focus on therapy and coaching, but calling NLP a therapy is probably not fair. NLP is a lot more than that.
Hmm. Okay. So it can be used during coaching and therapy sessions then, these techniques?
It can be. So, like I said earlier, there are a lot of techniques in NLP which can, as it is, be applied as a part of your coaching sessions with clients or as a part of therapy sessions, right? It's be- Before we go ahead, maybe it's important to understand the difference between coaching and therapy,
Yeah.
so that it becomes clear why we are using these two terms separately. Like we discussed in the earlier videos, coaching is more about present and future. It's about helping you apply certain set of strategies with your clients so that you can help them set goals about the future, and then to help them create a change in the present so that they can achieve those goals. Therapy, on the other hand, also extensively would focus on past, and if there are intense negative emotions that people need to address, a therapist would also help you address them. Like I said, NLP can be applied in both areas. There are tools in NLP that can be used to help people set goals more effectively, to help them get clarity about what's happening in their mind, to help them create a very structured plan of action, and then to also be able to motivate them, guide them, support them in their journey towards applying those plan of actions to get the desired results. In therapy, there are tools and techniques in NLP which can also help you explore your past experiences, can act as ways of helping you let go of certain things that you have been holding on to. Um, NLP can also be applied with other forms of therapy, to be able to bridge whatever gaps you are facing in other forms of therapy that you may be using. Right? So, yes, it can be used as a part of coaching and therapy, and it can be used quite effectively.
Okay. So could you elaborate on some techniques that NLP, coaches and therapists use to help their clients?
Okay. So, a major part of NLP is about understanding how language influences people and how you can establish a connect, traditionally in terms of coaching and therapy, rapport with your clients, right? Um, and I haven't come across a model which is as structured in how you go about working with people so that you can develop a rapport. Classically, in coaching and therapy, you would hear people telling you have empathy, have unconditional positive regard, uh, be non-judgmental. These are good concepts, right? But how do you really apply them in practice? And this practical application is what sometimes is lacking in the theoretical framework of coaching and therapy.
Hmm.
NLP gives you hands-on tools. It gives you techniques like pacing and leading, where you can literally pace a client. And pacing simply means that you observe the client. Let's say the client is speaking at a particular pace. You observe the pace of their talking and you replicate that pace. They're talking at a particular volume. You observe that volume and you also talk to them using the same volume. The clients are using a particular degree of gestures. You notice that degree and you also replicate that degree. So you're literally pacing the client, and with that pace, what you're doing is you're creating a level of comfort at the level of unconscious with the person, right? A good example of this could be, natural pacing and leading is when two people from the same community meet and speak using the same language. Before they start speaking in the common language, okay, they may be comfortable, but the comfort level is completely different when they're using the language that they are both familiar with, right?
Right.
And it's not just a question of familiarity, that they both belong to. That's pacing, right? And once you start using pacing, then you can start leading the other person. And that's how that interaction between the coach and the client, or the therapist and the client, happens. If you want to randomly experiment with something like this, when you're walking on a road, find a person who's walking really slowly. Start walking next to them at the same pace at which they are walking for probably a minute or so, right? And then slowly increase your pace. The person may not even know you, and yet their pace increases. This is a good example of pacing and leading. How you are literally, by observing people, creating a connect with them at an unconscious level by pacing them, are eventually able to lead them, right? Now imagine, as a coach, if you're able to develop that connect with a client where you can pace their current mental state and then lead them into a more empowering mental state. As a therapist, when you want the client's breathing pattern to deepen so that they can relax, imagine if you can observe the client's breathing pattern, pace it, and then slowly make your breathing patterns deeper, and the client's breathing patterns become deeper automatically. It's it's such a powerful tool to help
Yeah.
you create change,
Right.
right? And you're establishing rapport not just at a conscious level, but actually at the level of unconscious. Before I go ahead and explain more techniques, hello, Dr. Madhvi. Thank you for joining us for the session. And if any of you are watching us live, please comment, share your comments with us, and say us hi. And we'll be more than happy to give a shout out to you and connect back with you. And if you have any questions about NLP, please ask them in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to take them up as we are going ahead. Yeah. So, Tia, is this clear till here about
Yeah.
pacing and leading and how it can help in rapport building?
Absolutely.
And this is only one technique, right? A lot of times, coaches and therapists struggle when they are working with clients because clients gives you information which is all over the place, and then you have to try and make sense of whether the client has given me the complete information or not. What is missing? What's not missing? Can I structure that information more effectively? At times, the information is too vague. You can use meta model to actually help clients give you specific details about information that's missing in the conversation. And you are collecting that information not only because you want the information. That information is actually going to help the client get more clarity about what they are saying, how much of what they are saying is based on their perception, and how much of it is really based on what happened in their life, right? And even in what happened in their life, there are so many times when we are using broad generalizations. How many times during a conversation you've had people telling you that no one loves me?
Hmm.
Practically speaking, is it really possible that you have a person in their life whom no one loves or no one cares for? There'll be at least one person, right? If nothing else, you can love yourself and care for yourself,
Right.
right? How many times we have been in a situation where, because we believe no one loves us, when someone actually tells us I love you,
We don't
our
believe it.
first thought is they have some work. They're just being nice to me because they want me to do something,
Right.
right? See how those generalizations are playing out. Now you can actually use meta model questions to help clients break those generalizations, recover any deletions from the conversations they're having with you, and correct any distortions that they may have, right? And all of this can be done using one tool in NLP, which is meta model. You have clients who struggle extensively with emotional states. They will tell you that I am just not able to focus and concentrate when I'm working, right? And traditionally in coaching and therapy, it's very difficult to help people change their emotional states. The only way you can do it is you can talk to them, motivate them, probably give them some affirmations and hope those affirmations work. Anchoring is a process that can really help people change their emotional state in like this. And you can create associations. You can literally associate the client's emotional state of calmness, focus, and concentration with when they sit to work. So the moment they sit to work, they naturally get into that state. Imagine if you have the ability to get into those states so naturally. Think of people who are scared of going on stage. If you can use anchoring with them, where the moment they look at stage, they feel confident.
Yeah.
This will be so empowering for them. They
Yeah.
no longer have to go on the stage and struggle with themselves, reminding themselves, no, I have to feel confident. No, I can't be scared. No, there are people looking at me. What if they could just step on the stage and feel confident? That's what anchoring can help you achieve, right? And these are just examples of few techniques. There are some really amazing processes. Um, there are times when the clients have beliefs which are at the level of unconscious,
Hmm.
right? And it can take months and sessions of work and conversations for the clients to actually be able to reach that stage in classical coaching and therapy. uh, you can use something called as levels of transformation, which in a matter of 1 hour can help people become aware of what are the environmental factors that are affecting them, what are their own behaviors that are contributing to the environment, what are the skills that they lack, what are the skills that they're not using properly. The beliefs, both at the conscious and the unconscious level, that are directly or indirectly contributing to these problems.
Hmm.
And not just the beliefs, the people, the roles, the experiences from where they are borrowing these beliefs. What are they identifying with? And then the process can eventually help them connect with the infinite potential within them and help them transform all of them. And all of this within a period of 1 hour. It sounds almost ridiculously simple and magical, right? But that's how effective it is. And there are a lot more techniques like this. Matlab, if probably you have any specific questions about it, you can ask me, and I can give you more examples of techniques about which techniques can work at what kind of places in NLP.
So I had a question about where NLP would be most effective. As in, what are some kind of emotional states or some kind of difficulties that NLP would be most effective?
See, like I said, NLP as a model has been built by observing successful people, and three of the most successful therapists have been modeled to create NLP initially. To say which specific difficulties is probably doing a disservice to NLP.
Okay.
Because if you understand NLP correctly, it can be applied in almost every area of your life, and in almost every area of coaching and therapy. You just need to be skilled enough and smart enough to understand how to apply. For example, so I've given you examples about day-to-day goal setting, goal accomplishment tools right now, right?
Right.
There are techniques in NLP which can help people work with intense traumas, phobias,
Okay.
right? Um, Something that classical psychotherapy still struggles with. So, if you apply the concepts from classical psychotherapy and combine them with techniques in NLP, you would realize that it can more or less be applied everywhere. But obviously, your skill is which technique can be applied where. So, NLP is not one technique, right? It's a
Hmm.
combination of hundreds of techniques. And if you actually understand NLP well, and if you combine that with the understanding of hypnosis, you can learn to create your own techniques. So technically you can have like thousands of techniques that can be created out of hypnosis and NLP and classical psychology combined together.
Yeah.
The question is not where NLP can be applied. The question really is which NLP process can be applied where. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. So there is a lot of imagination based work that you can do in NLP. Now, can you use that with clients who have psychotic disorders? The answer is no. Does
Okay.
that mean that NLP cannot be applied with clients with psychotic disorders? The answer is that to that also is no. There are things that you can do with those clients in combination with your classical psychology and NLP to actually benefit them,
Hmm.
right? And that's the distinction that we need to keep in mind. You have processes like timeline, which can be used to help people deal with really intense suppressed emotions, which clients may have struggled with for years, right? Um, you have variations of regression in NLP processes like time travel and so time travel. There's changing personal history. All of these processes can really help therapists, help clients work with years and years of trauma.
Okay.
But if you apply those techniques, uh, so for example, fast phobia cure, right? It's very effective for helping people deal with phobias.
Hmm.
But if you make a mistake of running the process while the client is associated, that can magnify the phobia. If you do the process correctly, where you help clients disassociate and go through double disassociation, it can create some remarkable results for the client. Right? So, what I'm kind of clarifying is it's not just about NLP and techniques in NLP. You can go online and you can read about those techniques. There are like thousands of websites available. Your skill set as a coach or a therapist is in how to pick up the right process in NLP, how to customize it, and how to apply it with clients so that you can take care of the side effects and magnify the benefits.
Hmm.
Sadly, that's something that most NLP training programs don't offer. They will offer a series of techniques and tell you do these techniques with clients. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, choose another technique. That's a very mechanical way of learning NLP. And that's also one of the reasons why people extensively criticize NLP, saying that we tried NLP and it's not worked. It's not worked not because there's a problem with NLP, it's not worked because, well, the practitioner that you were working with sadly was not trained as well as they should have been.
Okay. So these techniques that you've shared, can someone use it on themselves, or can it only be used with others?
So again, depends on techniques. Our general recommendation to people is any technique that's going to help you manage your mental state in the present, right? So for example, right now I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable and I want to become more comfortable. I'm not feeling motivated, I want to become motivated. There are a couple of these thoughts that are bothering me and I want to learn to change my mental states. There NLP is very effective and you can apply it with yourself. But if it's an underlying issue, there's a trauma, there's intense negative emotions, can you use NLP with yourself? The answer is yes. Should you? The answer is no. Because when you're running some of these processes, they need you to be objective. You're playing the role of a therapist and a client both, right? And when you're working with intense negative emotions, at times you may not be objective enough to be able to run the process. So it's safer to actually visit a therapist and ask them to work with you when you're working with intense negative emotions. But in terms of processes, most of the NLP processes can be applied with yourself. Um, how would it benefit? You can become a far better communicator. Your ability to persuade other people enhances tremendously
As a client, right?
as a client. So I'm not even talking about client now. I'm talking, let's say you're neither a therapist nor a client. You're an individual who is learning NLP to
Okay.
enhance the quality of your life,
Right.
right? Uh, because NLP so extensively focuses on communication, both with others and self. In any area of your life where you will need to communicate with others or with self, you can apply an NLP and benefit from it, which basically means in every area of your life,
Yeah.
right? You can develop confidence with the help of NLP. You can develop focus and concentration with the help of NLP. You can learn to get into specific emotional states and learn to get out of those emotional states at will using NLP. You can become more persuasive. You can become more creative. You can learn to trust yourself more. You can learn to be more objective, and at the same time, learn to completely be able to engross in a situation and enjoy it fully, right? So it really can be applied in every area of your life
Hmm.
as an individual.
Right. Many people also think that NLP is fake or it's a pseudoscience. Why do you think that is? Is it true?
So a lot of work in NLP is based on observing people and modeling them, right? Like I said earlier, right? Some of the processes in NLP become experimental because you keep looking at new people, you keep modeling them, you keep trying to figure out whether this particular model can be replicated or not. So would it be fair to say that certain techniques in NLP are either outdated, that is, they outlived their purpose, or that they have not given the results that they were expected to give in the beginning? The answer to that is yes, right? Um, are there certain techniques that earlier people thought would be effective, but today can be outright rejected? The answer to that is also yes. But does that mean that every process in NLP is fake or is useless? The answer to that is no. The number of techniques in NLP that are highly effective far outweigh the number of techniques that are no longer effective. Okay. The problem is people don't realize that NLP is a combination of techniques. They think of NLP as one thing. So they use one process that has not worked, and then they criticize and they say, oh, you know what? NLP is fake and it's a pseudoscience because I tried this process and it did not work for me. This is like saying I went to a doctor, my doctor gave me a particular pill. That particular pill did not work for me. So now, according to me, the entire medical science is pseudoscience. Okay, all medicines are fake.
Hmm.
That's a gross exaggeration.
Right.
But to be fair, a lot of NLP practitioners and NLP training institutes are to be blamed for this.
Hmm.
See, as an individual, when I don't know anything about NLP, I go along with whatever people who portray themselves as an authority in this field say, right? When I speak to an NLP practitioner who tells me, you know what, NLP can be used to detect lies and it's 100% foolproof. That, by the way, is a lie. But because I don't know that, and I am going along with whatever the practitioner is telling me, they teach me a particular process, and I use that process with certain people, and it did not work for me. And then I go ahead and say, oh, you know what? The NLP techniques are fake. It's not the NLP technique which is fake, it's the trainer that you connected with was,
Hmm.
right? And
Right.
sadly, a lot of NLP training institutes are to be blamed for that. They still hold on to old, outdated methods which have been rejected, which have been discarded simply because they are good ways of selling yourself. You know, when you say you can do an NLP program and learn to detect lies, now people want to come and enroll for the course.
Hmm.
You have sold your course.
It's misleading.
It's misleading. Now, as an institute, if you're more uh, focused on how do I generate clients rather than how do I offer value, this is what we get.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with a lot of psychology teachers where they would tell me that Nitin, initially we were very fascinated by NLP. But when we attended the programs and when we saw what people were teaching in the name of NLP and what they were claiming,
Hmm.
then we realized that this is all fake.
Right.
And then we have to actually sit with them, and then that makes our life more difficult because then when we talk to these teachers and we connect with them, we really have to explain to them what it really is. So they've learned something. Now we have to help them unlearn it and then relearn what and how NLP can be beneficial.
They already have a block for
They
NLP.
already have a block,
Hmm.
right? And that's also one of the reasons why you will notice now more and more people who are interested in attending NLP courses are people who are doing it for self-help and performance growth, and they will be trainers who want to train other people. The number of nowadays, a lot of coaches have become interested because NLP has been able to kind of rebrand itself to appeal to coaches. Okay? But the number of psychologists, who still think that NLP is pseudoscience.
Hmm.
That number is incredible, and it's sad because there's so much work that psychologists can do if they can incorporate some of these techniques in their work,
Yeah.
right? And again, I'm saying this responsibly. When you're learning NLP and when you're learning techniques, please don't assume that every technique will work with every client, or that everything that your NLP trainer or the NLP institute says is a fact. It's not. Okay, उनका भी काम है. They also have to sell their training programs. So you have to kind of give them a bit of a leeway. But don't criticize the entire field for that.
Okay.
The field has some immense things to offer to all of you.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
I hope this kind of clarifies the fake and pseudoscience kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Also, if you are an NLP practitioner and someone comes and says this to you, that NLP is fake or pseudoscience, don't blindly defend it. Ask them which technique.
Hmm.
Because maybe they're actually talking about a technique that you also recognize no longer works. There's no point defending it.
Right.
Just like people who don't know about NLP try to criticize NLP blindly without really realizing that it has multiple techniques. People who have learned NLP and have benefited by it blindly try to defend it without really listening to what other people are saying. Right? And a basic rule of NLP is learn to listen. So listen, carry on a conversation, ask them which technique, and then clarify.
Okay. So now, bringing in hypnosis into it, what is the relationship between hypnosis and NLP?
Okay. So you can look at NLP in terms of understanding what's happening in a person's mind, right? Through a set of interactions, activities, and conversations. And then certain processes that you use with those clients to create a change. All change processes in NLP are based on hypnosis. Okay? But NLP has more to offer in the sense that it will also focus on questioning models, questioning tools. It will focus on other components like the visual, auditory, kinesthetic systems, the representation systems, and the lead systems. It will also focus on certain structures that you can follow to be able to model other people, which hypnosis traditionally would not focus on.
Hmm.
Right? So, all change processes in NLP are based on hypnosis,
Okay.
but NLP has additional things that would not be a part of hypnosis. Having said that, what NLP does not have is hypnosis gives you a very thorough conceptual background, which actually helps you understand NLP and NLP processes better. NLP training programs, at least, do not offer you that conceptual focus, that
Hmm.
conceptual background. Most NLP programs will tell you this is a technique, these are the steps that you take. If it works for you, good for you. If it doesn't work for you, follow a different process. Okay? When you're working with yourself, that's okay. As a coach or a psychologist, when I'm working with clients, I would hate to use a process that I don't know why it is working, why it is not working. And if it's not working, how do I tweak it to make it work? Right? I can't tell my client कि अच्छा ये process काम नहीं किया तो we'll use some other process.
Hmm.
That's where hypnosis comes into play. So the relationship between hypnosis and NLP can be best understood with the help of this metaphor. Think of NLP as a very efficient, fast, high-tech car. When you want to go to places,
Hmm.
you can sit in it and it can take you to places really quickly till it does not break down.
Okay.
When it breaks down, you need to know the nuts and bolts of that car
Right.
so that you can repair it. That nuts and bolts of the car is what hypnosis is. It actually helps you understand why NLP works when it works and why a particular technique in NLP is not working with a particular client and what can you do to make it work. So, in my understanding, while NLP has a bit more to offer in terms of techniques compared to hypnosis, learning NLP without hypnosis is incomplete.
Okay.
And most people struggle with NLP because they don't understand hypnosis. So that's the relationship between hypnosis and NLP.
Okay. So who can learn NLP?
Okay, so before we go to that question, there are a couple of questions or remarks in the chat. So Nidhi has said it sounds so simple and yet hard to digest that it actually works, which is true, Nidhi, and that's the reason why it's important for practitioners to be open to the idea of exploring those techniques and applying those techniques. See, there is no technique that will work with all clients, right? But the world has evolved. There was a time when psychologists would only use processes like talk therapy and psychoanalysis, which would take years and years of work before you can really help people even understand what's happening with themselves. Then a revolution came in terms of CBT and REBT, where all of a sudden, in 8 weeks, you could really help people deal with most of their symptoms effectively. You could minimize the intensity of those symptoms dramatically, right? Now you have hypnosis and NLP, more research being done in that, and you realize that what could be done with CBT and REBT in 8 to 10 sessions in many cases can actually be done a lot faster when you combine those processes with hypnosis and NLP, right? So that's the reason why it's important that coaches and psychologists are open to the idea of exploring these fields. I also understand that these are expensive fields. These are expensive things to learn, and there are too many people offering too many things in the market.
Hmm.
It's also very difficult to really understand which is the right course to follow. I'm a bit biased for the courses that we have created because we have created them, obviously. So I would really say that I don't think there's any course that comes close to what we offer. But if you're not sure, you can always enroll for those courses and you have a 100% money back guarantee. I don't think there are many institutes in the world right now that will offer you a money back guarantee for live courses, not for pre recorded courses. And we offer that because we know that once you've done the course, it's difficult to go back from there. You really begin to notice the power and the finesse that you can bring into your work as a coach and a therapist, right? And Suganya has also
Someone has
asked
asked
what is the difference between mirroring and
mirroring
pacing.
and pacing.
So Suganya, mirroring is one way of pacing. You can pace using mirroring or matching, and that's basically matlab, you can consider mirroring as one of the ways of pacing someone. I hope that clarifies.
Okay. Can we move on?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I asked you, who can learn NLP?
So technically, anyone and everyone can learn NLP. NLP is not a regulated field. Um, you may have any educational qualification or you may have no educational qualification, and yet you can learn NLP. The question really is where you can apply NLP after learning NLP,
Okay.
right? So if you're learning NLP for self-help, there's no restriction. You want to learn it, apply it in your own life, apply it in your conversations. If you are in a company, you want to apply it in the way you interact with people around you. If you're a journalist, you want to apply the principles in the way you frame your conversations, the way you pitch your stories in media. um, you are a trainer, you want to incorporate NLP principles as a part of your training programs, there are no restrictions, right? If you want to use NLP in one-to-one settings as a coach, while coaching itself is a non-regulated field, so you don't really need any specific training to call yourself a coach, it may be a good idea for you to do a course which trains you in specific models of coaching, right? Because then you can apply those models in combination with NLP. To be fair, if you do the NLP course, that's and with any institute, as long as it's a comprehensive course, that will generally be more powerful than a standard coaching program, any which ways, right? But what coaching does, it provides you with structure. So, like in NLP, you learn a lot of techniques. You may be confused where to apply which technique. Coaching may give you that structure in terms of how you apply those techniques in a structured way. So, if you want to apply it in one-to-one setup with clients as a part of coaching, it may be a good idea for you to do some coaching courses, coaching certifications, learn certain coaching structures, and then apply the NLP techniques along with that. But again, coaching is a non-regulated field. There's no mandatory requirement for it. But if you want to work with clients as a psychologist, You want to work with clients to help them deal with their intense negative emotions and traumas, right? Then you need an education qualification. So while you can learn NLP, but to apply NLP with clients who are having these issues and practice as a psychologist, you need to complete your master's in psychology, right? So, and I want to clarify this. It's not about whether you can learn NLP. NLP can be learned by everyone, but where you can apply depends upon your education qualification. And that distinction needs to be made very clear.
Right. And so, lastly, coming back, you spoke about certification courses on NLP, and there are so many of them today. First of all, are any of them legal? And the certifications that they offer, do they have any legal validity?
So, like I said earlier, NLP as a field is a non-regulated field. There is no legal framework within which NLP can be defined. So, if you say that Nitin, I have attended a 1 hour program where they've given me a certification of calling myself an NLP practitioner. Can I call myself an NLP practitioner? Well, there's no one who can do anything about it.
Okay.
Does that help me develop the skills? The answer to that is no. Right? Any institute that offers you a training program in NLP without hands-on experience, okay, no matter how expensive it is, no matter how cheap it is, it's not worth it. They may provide you with 30 certifications, all actually hold no value. uh, do the certifications have any legal value? The answer to that is no. Like I said, legality in terms of your practice is defined by who you are working with. If you're practicing as a coach, there is no legal restrictions. You may do an NLP certification, or you may not even do an NLP certification, and yet call yourself a coach and work with people, right? As long as you don't take up intense negative emotions, disorders, past related issues, you are safe to go. If you want to apply NLP in your own life, the certification individuals hold no value. You are applying it in your life. You will notice the improvement in your life. But if you're working with a as a therapist or as a psychologist, then your master's in psychology becomes
Very
important.
important.
And your legal credentials come from there. The certificate that the NLP Institute is offering is simply a piece of paper saying that you have attended a course with them. Irrespective of what that certificate says, that's exactly what the value of that certificate is: nil.
Hmm.
So, how do you identify which is the right course for you?
Yeah.
Look for a program that is comprehensive, which means is instructor led, live, for at least 100 hours, 120 hours for NLP practitioner, and
Okay.
at least another 120, 140 hours for NLP master practitioner. Anything short than that, okay, no matter what the institute claims, they're taking you for a ride. And I understand there are institutes that will tell you, we'll give you all the NLP slides and materials and PPTs. You can go online and you can download it for free. Those slides and those PPTs and that books have no value really. It's what you learn in the course.
Yeah.
It's how the trainer teaches it to you, how they handhold you in being able to apply those techniques, and the support that they offer you after the courses are over. If you have to ask me one key checkpoint about whether an institute is an institute that you need to do a course with or not, don't check what people tell you about the course. Check what people tell you about the service, the support that they offer to you after the course,
Okay.
right? We offer a course between NLP practitioner, master practitioner. You learn around 80 techniques in the course itself. And more importantly, you learn to develop your own techniques. It's practically impossible for you to remember all of those techniques all your life, right? You need someone to support you, to be there with you, that when you work with clients, if you get stuck somewhere, who do you go back to connect with?
Hmm.
And if your institute does not offer you that support, I wouldn't think twice about joining that program. If the institute offers you that kind of support, okay, attend. There is no replacement to that support.
Hmm.
Second is the credentials of the trainer. See what people have to say about the trainer. Is the trainer approachable? Is the trainer patient to answer all the questions that you have? Um, are they willing to support you even after the workshops are over? Okay. Um, Look at the interactions the trainers have online, not in terms of videos that they release, in terms of the questions that they have answered when they have been asked. Those will give you an indicator about whether that trainer is someone that you should connect with and you should work with or not, right? Lastly, because there are so many institutes offering so many courses, it may just be safer for you to do a course with an institute that offers you 100% money back guarantee. Okay. Now that obviously brings us into the fold, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, see, the reason why we can offer that is because we are so confident about the course.
Yeah.
If your training provider is not even confident about the quality of the course that they're offering, if they are not confident, can you be confident about their courses,
Hmm.
right? Those are things that you need to think about, right? But that's how I would select the right course. Look at the curriculum, notice that it's comprehensive, 1 days, 2 days, few hours, a month long course with only 1 hour every day, 2 hours every day. That's all beating around the bush. They're taking you for a ride. It needs to be comprehensive, at least if you're doing practitioner plus master practitioner. The two together need to be at least 250 hours,
Okay.
nothing less than that.
Okay.
Um, the trainer credentials, in terms of how approachable they are, how frank they are, how genuine they are, right? And the kind of support that you receive after the course. These are the few things that I would ask you to keep in mind.
Okay. This is definitely very, very helpful, very practical tips. So, sir, I think for today we are done. Anyone has any questions, they can put it in the chat box and we can take that up.
Perfect. So, so we're here for a minute or so. If any of you have any questions that you would like to ask us that we have not answered, please feel free to ask, and I'll be more than happy to take that up. If you've joined us late, don't worry. If you have a question, ask me again. I'll give you the answer again, even if you have covered the topic earlier. Meanwhile, just a reminder again that check out the iChar's website. There are some really interesting contests going on. We have one contest coming to an end tomorrow. If you are an ICF certified coach already, there's another contest that will start on 25th, which is exclusively targeting ICF certified coaches. And if you are a practitioner who has been trained in NLP or hypnosis or any related field, and you are a trained psychologist, right? Then there's another contest that will begin on the 1st of June, right? There are a lot of these. There are knowledge-based series that we are doing. So please feel free to check the iChar's website, the iChar's pages, social media handles to see what kind of work that we are doing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We are more than happy to answer those questions and clarify those doubts. If you want to connect with me personally and get some of your doubts clarified, on the iChar's website, there's an option to connect to the trainer. You'll be able to book a slot with me. There are no charges for that. That's one session that it will be a group session. So it's not a one-to-one session per se. There are multiple people who can group this book the same time slot. But you have the chance to then directly ask me questions, and we will be on a Zoom call taking up all the questions. There are multiple time slots available, so you can connect with me at any of those times. Going forward, we may also be coming up with um, some more webinars. This is a series that is ongoing. There are other things that we may be doing which may not be live, but that will be in a closed Zoom room kind of a thing, and you can also connect with us over there. Follow us on iCharts. The iCharts website is, and iCharts can be found on all social media handles, on all social media profiles using this handle, right? I'm not seeing any other questions. So if you're still here, please say hi or say bye before you go out. I am glad that you have been here. I hope that you have found this useful. And if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I will take up the questions tomorrow if you ask the questions after the live is over. And if any of you join this live, if you join this video later and you have not watched this live, if you have questions, leave it in the comments. We do check the comments regularly, and we will be more than happy to answer those questions in subsequent times. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you so much, sir.
So thank you everyone for staying with us. I would be closing the live now and looking forward to catching up with all of you tomorrow at 7:30. We will talk about hypnosis, what it is and how it can be applied in different areas of your life, and especially